They unearthed shocking tales of the Bible's most dangerous giants and their terrifying legacies. Few knew what truly happened that night. Shadows danced across the barren landscape of Canaan as the air thickened with fear. It was a land promised, yet whispered of fearsome beings. Massive figures, larger than life, cast long shadows over the hearts of men. They spoke of the Nephilim, giants born of the union between the sons of God and the daughters of men. Creatures of unimaginable strength and mystery. As the sun dipped below the horizon, a group huddled around flickering flames, their eyes wide with trepidation. They recalled stories passed through trembling lips. "They say these giants roamed among us," one whispered, "feasting on flesh, tearing through armies. What could stand against them?" The air crackled with tension, a palpable unease hanging like a storm cloud. The enormity of the giant's legacy loomed heavy in the in ancient times. The Israelites camped in the shadow of these legends. They faced the Amalekites, who were said to bear the fierce bloodlines of these creatures. Battles were fought in their name. A collective memory of horror-lost brothers, shattered morale. Yet, in this darkness, stories of miraculous victories flickered like the embers in the fire. How could a mere man slay a giant? David stood alone, an underdog against overpowering odds, a slingshot in hand. How could such a victory possibly manifest? People murmured in disbelief, yet clung to hope. In this land, tinged with dread, whispers of the giants stoked fear. There were those who claimed to have seen one, towering over the trees, shaking the ground with each thunderous step. It was said that their eyes glimmered with a feral hunger, and a chill crept up spines at the thought. Had they truly been exterminated? Or did some remain hidden in the mountains, waiting for a chance to bring chaos once more? As night enveloped the camp, hearts raced. The drumbeat of anxiety echoed in the stillness. Was it the wind that howled, or was it the mournful cry of giants long forgotten? Now, the shadows stretched deep into the dark corners of their minds, igniting imaginations. Were they monsters, or were they once mere men seeking power? Questions clawed at their insides like beasts hungry for answers. And just as the fire flickered, a sound pierced the silence, a distant roar, like a warning. The fear gripped tightly, leaving them breathless. What truth lay ahead as they faced this ominous mystery? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As the echoes of the distant roar faded into the night, an uneasy silence blanketed the camp. The flickering flames cast shadows that leaped and danced, illuminating the fear-worn faces of the Israelites. They exchanged worried glances, their minds racing with possibilities of the lurking giants. One elder, voice hoarse but firm, addressed the assembly. "We have heard tales that our forefathers spoke of these beings with a trembling of the heart," he began, his gaze sweeping across the gathering. "But we must remember, we are not powerless in this land. The Almighty has brought us forth from Egypt, leading us through trials that would break lesser men." Yet, as he spoke, doubt crept in like a serpent. Was faith enough when faced with such terror? The stories of David and Goliath emerged unbidden from the depths of their memories, a slingshot against a sword. Each heart held fragments of belief, while shadows twisted with uncertainty. In the distance, a young boy named Eli, his spirit untainted by fear, dared to voice his thoughts. "If they remain," he said, his voice steady, "perhaps they are waiting for something. Perhaps we must seek them out and understand our foes. Could it be that in understanding, we find our strength?" His words stirred an ember of courage in the hearts of those around him. Could confrontation lead to understanding? As the whispers of the elders turned contemplative, determination began to replace paralyzing dread. But not all were convinced. "Foolishness," another man bellowed. "To seek out death among the giants is to court disaster. We must fortify our defenses and pray for deliverance." As night deepened, A council formed mixed with trepidation and resolute faith. They would send out scouts at dawn, venturing toward the mountains thought to be the giants' dwelling places. But who would dare take on such a perilous journey? What kind of encounter awaited them? The flames flickered in agreement, reflecting the brewing storm within their souls. The group was to become divided. Those who believed in the righteous path of confrontation, and those who felt safety lay in the shadows of prayer. As the first light of dawn breached the horizon, casting a golden glow upon the land, the men prepared for the ascent. Yet clouds loomed overhead, threatening rain, a sign of turmoil, perhaps. And what did it mean to seek what was hidden? As the scouts departed, the remaining gathered to pray, beseeching guidance and protection. Will the Almighty stand with us should we fall? One among them pondered aloud, falling into deep reflection. Courageous hearts were bolstered by the thought, yet one lingering question cast its shadow. If these giants had lingered long enough to haunt their thoughts, what else had they witnessed in their obsidian dreams? What truths lay beyond the terrifying tales? As they watched the scouts blend with the distant hills, an unsettling realization crept into the minds left behind. Could the true giants dwell within them, fueled by fear and forgotten courage? And as those thoughts swirled, one could not help but wonder what awaited them at the summit, and what truths would be unearthed in the battling shadows. As the first rays of sunlight bathed the valley in warm hues, the scouts ventured forth, filled with an uncertain mixture of hope and dread. Each step they took echoed with the stories passed down through generations, of those who faced the giants of old and of the price they paid. Among the group, Josiah, a man accustomed to the fields rather than the battlefield, pressed forward with a restless spirit. What greater purpose could lie beyond their fear? The breezy air carried whispers of challenge and mystery, rustling the leaves overhead as they began their ascent. It was as though nature itself was alive with anticipation, holding its breath for what was to come. Josiah turned to his companions, the sun behind him creating a halo of light. "Remember," he said, "we are here not just to confront, but to listen. Giants have stories too, and in stories lies wisdom." The other scouts nodded, though apprehension lingered like a thick fog around them. As they climbed, arching their limbs to the steepness of the path, they exchanged tales of their ancestors' encounters, each a testament to great courage and resilience. Yet Josiah felt an awareness growing within him, an understanding that they sought not merely physical giants, but the remnants of fear lurking in their own hearts. After hours of treacherous ascent, they paused to catch their breath under the shroud of a large, overhanging rock. Here, the air was thick with tension, and the distant rumble of thunder reminded them of the tumult brewing within their souls. They proceeded carefully, stepping nearer to a clearing adorned with strange, colossal stones that seemed to pulse with a dark memory. What awe-inspiring construct could have shaped such monolithic forms? Eli, recalled for courage by his innocence, caught up with them breathless. "Look at these stones," he marveled. "They stand tall as though they too wished to speak." An elder scout named Asher had begun to recall the legends of ancient times, names of kings and warriors that had turned into shadows, stories that chilled the bone. "Each stone here may hold a memory," he murmured. Did their owners face their fears, or were they consumed by them? As they ventured deeper into the clearing, a sudden roar thundered from a hidden ravine, deep and resonant. The ground trembled beneath them. They froze, hearts pounding, eyes wide. What they feared most was made flesh. The spell of confrontation was broken. The giants awaited. With blood thrumming in their ears, Josiah stepped forward, the remnant of doubt painted vividly in his heart. Perhaps they only guard their tails. He shouted against the storm of fear. What if they have come not to destroy, but to reveal? The rumbling ceased, replaced by a haunting silence. From the ravine emerged a giant in all its awful splendor, towering as if sculpted by the earth's fury itself. Mesmerized, they searched for hostility in its gaze, but found uncertainty reflected back. "What do you seek?" the giant questioned, its voice like the cracking of thunder, shaking the very ground beneath their feet. The words echoed within Josiah's soul. Wasn't that the very question they had yet to answer within themselves? "We seek understanding," he cried out, his voice trembling but unwavering. "Tell us your story and we may share ours." The whispers of a chilling wind pursued them, The encounter hung like a thread of smoke in the air. A choice lay before them, drenched in sacred fatigue and petrifying potential. Would the giant share its truth or dismiss the seekers without a thought? In that suspended moment, one question loomed over them. If facing the giants unveiled more than fear, what newfound truths would rise from the echoes of their past? And could they reconcile the legends with their own lives, a confrontation of fears and destinies unfurling together amidst the vastness of existence? As Josiah's words faded into the stillness of the clearing, the ancient air crackled with an energy that seemed to pulse and throb around them. The giant loomed before them, its enormous form casting shadows deeper than night itself. And yet within that cavernous shadow, there lingered the promise of revelation. The world grew quiet, thunder stilled, and even the wind seemed to pause in anticipation. What do you understand by the tales of giants? The creature rumbled, its voice holding the weight of centuries. Each syllable struck the ground like heavy stones, sending a tremor through the very roots of the earth. The scouts exchanged glances, their expressions a collage of awe and uncertainty. It was a question that demanded more than mere words in reply. Eli, the youngest among them, took a hesitant step forward, emboldened not by belief but by curiosity. We've been taught to fear you because of your strength, your size, your ferocity. But perhaps those are only the stories we tell ourselves, he murmured, eyes wide and earnest. What if the fear is ours and not yours? The giant narrowed its eyes, reflecting the very essence of the boy's innocence. Fear is the language of many, it acknowledged, its voice softening as it regarded Eli with a measure of gentleness. Yet to reveal oneself requires a primeval courage, for the truths locked within hearts can be more fearsome than any nightmare I have known. Josiah felt a flicker of understanding glowing like a candle amidst the encroaching darkness within. If we share our stories, can you share yours? It might bridge our worlds. His inquiring tone was earnest, yet he was acutely aware that this was not merely an exchange of tales, but an invitation to explore the deepest fissures of their lives. The giant hesitated, muscles tensing as if ready to spring back into the shadows. Then, with an exhale that sounded like mountains shifting, it began to speak, each word a tremor that stirred old memories buried beneath the grueling layers of time. Long ago, in a world where kinship forged greater strength than mere brawn, my kind were bred for purpose. We were guardians, not marauders. Myth turned us into nightmares. But what of the children who played at the edge of our realms? We became the giants of their tales, the boogeymen who lurked in porches and whispered eerily in dark corners. As the giant continued, the scouts began to feel the swell of empathy ripple through them. They listened not just to words, but to the essence intertwined within its timbre, a yearning for understanding, perhaps as profound as their own. Your stories of destruction are interlaced with our own. We too have faced annihilation, driven by reasons unknown even to ourselves. When we fell to ancient feuds, lost the loves of our lives, we were cursed to roam as misbegotten specters on the earth. Behold, we became the fear you carry inside. A tidal wave of silence swept over the clearing as the realization dawned upon them. In each of their hearts lay burdens wrought by history, tales of destruction, misunderstandings, and the tragic loss of their own people. The giants were not simply obstacles. They were echoes of their own struggles, mirroring fears they possessed but did not quite grasp. The elder scout, Asher, stepped forward, voice thick with resolve. So was it all a lie we have lived? Can we reshape the truths that haunt us? The giants of old may not be the monsters we imagined, but reflections of what we refuse to face within ourselves. The giant fixed its gaze on Asher, and within that silence, it seemed to carry the weight of a question back to them. And if you should learn to embrace these truths, what then? Would you carry them back as burdens, or rewrite your own legends? For every giant yields a story. They lay the foundation of resilience, or succumb to the weight of sorrow. As these words settled upon them, a shiver coursed through Josiah. A new layer of complexity unfolded within his heart. The air thickened with the mystery of not just giants, but of the inherent humanity trapped within their collective destinies. He looked around at his companions, seeing the shadows of their thoughts flickering across their faces, uncertain, yet infinitely curious about the implications of truth. The moment was ripe with potential, each soul holding the key to a reimagined reality. They were standing at the precipice of understanding, yet the chasm of fear remained unbridged. If the tales of giants bore the weight of their own personal stories, would they muster the courage to transform their fears into wisdom shared? And thus, the profound question echoed within them all. What new legacies might they craft if they chose to confront not just the giants before them, but also the shadows lurking within their own hearts? As silence enveloped the clearing, the giants' ponderous words resonated in the hearts of the scouts, sparking an awakening. Each of them was wrapped in a thin veil of introspection, where the flickering shadows of their past illuminated paths scarcely walked before. Will you now tell the stories that rest within you? The giant prodded gently, its voice a low rumble, echoing the essence of encouragement. There was warmth in its eyes, an invitation not just to share but to connect, to find common ground amidst their differences. The atmosphere hung thick, charged with the collective apprehension of the scouts. They had spent their lives under the specter of fear, and the thought of wielding their narratives felt daunting, yet emboldening. Josiah gazed into the depths of the giant's eyes, where ancient wisdom shimmered through like soft light on a river. He felt for the first time a commonality stitched between their stories, threads pulling them together in ways he had never comprehended. With a deep breath, Eli ventured first, his voice barely above a whisper. I lost my sister to a harsh winter. She was only a child, like I was. When I think of her absence, the world becomes monstrous and cold, yet I wonder if it is my fear that made it so. His confession hung heavily in the air, a mixture of vulnerability and tremor that opened a door to deeper exploration. The giant listened intently, its massive hands resting on its knees, creating an unexpected yet intimate atmosphere. In sorrow, there hides the potential for strength, it responded, the cadence of its voice reverberating with empathy. What you fear may become the fuel for your greatest transformation. Share more. Keen on unraveling the script etched in their souls, Asher stepped forward, emboldened by the stirring emotions that Eli had ignited. I carried the weight of survival through violence, raised on the teachings of avenging wrongs. Yet, every act of revenge deepened the void in my heart. My father would tell me stories of our ancestors, wisdom tales of peace and unity that we have long cast aside. Their legacy lies buried beneath the quest for strength, he lamented. With those words, the inexplicable burden swelled within the others. There was unity in their pain. They began to understand how stories had twisted their perceptions and fractured their relationships. The giant nodded appreciatively, its broad shoulders relaxing just a notch. You unearth the roots of your struggle. With every truth shared, you etch out a path toward healing. Mara, the only woman among the scouts, stepped forward. She had listened quietly, but the profound atmosphere surrounding them brought forth her voice with newfound strength. I feared that my worth relied on pleasing others, catering to expectations that never felt my own. In those shadows, I have forged lies that suffocated my spirit. But what if I choose to redefine my worth? A soft breeze swept through the clearing, lending weight to her words. The giant regarded her with profound respect. You speak of liberation, an unshackling of imposed identities. What remains is the courage to embrace the strength of your own narrative. Even amidst the doubts they exchanged their stories. The clearing felt smaller, yet infinitely larger, a sacred space where echoes of understanding intertwined with whispered hopes. Each tale brought forth a shared humanity that had been submerged beneath fear and expectation like stones lost beneath churning waters. And then, Josiah found his voice emerging from within. But what if we dare not? What if facing our stories exposes us to further pain, leading us to all the intricacies we've avoided? With his admission hanging in the air, the weight of uncertainty returned, casting shadows over the transformative light. The giant regarded him thoughtfully, reflecting a quiet solemnity as it replied, "True liberation often surfaces from confronting the chaos within. Yet, will you choose to be a monument to either fear or wisdom? The choice of which tale to forge belongs to you." That evening, under the twilight sky, enveloping the world in an indigo embrace, they stood at the intersection of fear and possibility. The shadows of the past danced on the edges of their minds, mirroring the tales of giants intertwined within their souls. Would they dare to tread the uncertain waters of their stories? And thus, the question lingered, drifting like a leaf on the evening breeze. What new truths might they unveil if they chose to embrace their vulnerabilities and entwine them with the echoes of those mighty giants? As twilight settled into night, the stars twinkled above, a tapestry woven by unseen hands. The group sat in a circle around the giant, a natural congregation of souls seeking both understanding and healing. The air thick with anticipation, Josiah found himself entranced not only by what had been shared but by the giant's presence, which was as ancient as the mountains and as nurturing as the earth itself. "How did you come to walk amongst us?" Josiah asked, curiosity lacing his words. "What stories do you carry, O giant? What truths do you harbor beneath your mighty exterior?" The giant paused, its gaze drifting to the slumbering woods beyond the clearing where the shadows whispered. "I am a remnant of an age long forgotten," it began, its voice resonating like thunder, yet soothing like a gentle stream. "I was born from the laughter of the earth, where giants once roamed freely, safeguarding the stories of all who dwelled in their shadow. Yet, as time does, the memories faded, muffled under the weight of fear, ambition, and conflict that a hush enveloped the scouts, the gravity of the giant's words deepening the space between them. With each syllable, they felt the pull of history, the echoes of old giants whispering tales of honor and loss, battles fought in the names of pride and terror. "What happened to your kind?" Mara asked softly, her voice cutting through the overwhelming thoughts. "Did you succumb to the fears you spoke of?" "Indeed," the giant sighed, shadows playing across its features. "When the yearning for power eclipses the wisdom of unity, fear lurks. My kin and I became lost in our might, flaunting our gifts instead of nurturing them. We thought ourselves invincible, yet in our arrogance, we wove chaos into the fabric of our stories, each longing for dominance over the other." Asher listened intently, the soft glow of understanding lighting his eyes. "Is this not the same peril we face now? In our quest for strength, are we not in danger of straying from the values we once revered?" The giant nodded solemnly. "There lies a truth buried in the echoes of time. Strength without compassion falters, and in its wake, seeds of sorrow take root. Observe how your stories mirror the tales of our descent. You too wrestle with choice. What course do you chart amidst the whispers of your fears?" The night deepened, and the flickering flames of the fire danced in response to the weight of the giant's revelations. They could sense the struggle woven into each strand of their own narratives, the threads that had long held them captive to a legacy they had not chosen. "What are we to do with this knowledge?" Eli asked, his voice trembling with the urgency to understand. "How do we ensure that we do not repeat the mistakes of those who walked before us?" A profound silence fell, the only sound a gentle breeze brushing past them, carrying with it the scent of blooming wildflowers and the promise of dawn. "You must embrace your vulnerability as the compass guiding you through the darkness," the giant instructed, its tone resolute. "It is within the cracks of your stories that light will seep in. Share not just the pain of your past, but the wisdom gathered along the way. In honesty lies the heart of connection. In connection blooms resilience." The words ignited within them a nagging question, a flicker of doubt intermingled with hope. Had they, too, been mere shadows of their stories, navigating through fears of their own making? And if they were to unlock this wisdom, could they avoid a fate so dire as that of the giants lost to arrogance? As the fire crackled, casting silhouettes against the trees, Josiah lifted his eyes to the vast expanse of the night sky brimming with stars. "But can we truly change? When faced with the burden of our histories, how do we find the strength to alter the course?" Taking a deep breath, the giant regarded Josiah with a weighty consideration, as if seeing through the past into an uncertain future. "Change is a journey inked not just in intentions, but in actions. Your willingness to confront these questions, to unravel the layers, cloaking your truths, is the first step toward transformation. The threads of your stories are not fixed. They can be rewoven with courage." And so, as they sat, surrounded by the echoes of their shared pain, a quiet revolution began to stir within their hearts. Each one pondered the words of the giant, the weight of the stories that defined them, and the power they held to rewrite their destinies, one unexamined fear at a time. Yet, even amid the ember-lit hopes of rebirth, a reflective question lingered, hovering like the frost of dawn, a phantom that begged attention. How deeply do the roots of our pasts intertwine with our futures, and are we willing to reshape the legacy we have inherited? The twilight deepened into a velvety darkness, where the flicker of the fire's glow mixed with the myriad stars above, creating a cosmic curtain around the gathering. As the giant's words fell silent, a sense of collective reflection enveloped the group, knitting their hearts closer to their shared history and aspirations. "Tell us more," Mara encouraged, a spark of curiosity igniting her voice. "If you once walked among others like you, there must be more stories. What did you witness, and how can those lessons guide us?" The giant shifted slightly, its enormous form resonating with the whispers of ages past. "Ah, the stories of my kin are as vast and tangled as the roots of the oldest trees. There was a time when we were revered, protectors of harmony. Yet, in our pursuit of favor, we turned from our purpose. We became entangled in greed, and the hearts of men wavered under strife between kingdoms." "What do you mean?" Asher leaned forward, entranced. "Greed over harmony? Did you not understand that power can tear worlds apart?" There was a long, slow exhalation from the giant, drawing forth both years and memories in the air with its breath. "There was one amongst us, a great giant named Othniel, whose strength bore the weight of mountains. His heart, however, grew heavy under the burden of fear after a great battle that shattered our kin. Instead of seeking unity, he wielded his might like a sword, cutting deeper into the fabric of trust. Each blow he dealt was not only against our enemies, but against our own purpose. In seeking to prove his supremacy, he unwittingly sowed the seeds of division among those he once rallied. An electric silence enveloped the group, wrapped in the giant's Talisa, chilling awareness of how easily fear can lead to ruin. Eli's brow furrowed. "But surely, strength can be a force for good. Is it not valor to protect others?" "Valor must be tempered with compassion," the giant replied, its voice now softer, resonating with the wisdom of foresight. "True strength lies not in overpowering others, but in uplifting them. Look upon the mountains. They may tower high, yet it is the gentle streams that carve pathways through stone, showing how persistence and kindness can reshape not only landscapes but lives." The stars above twinkled as if in agreement, and in awe of what lay before them settled deeply within Josiah. So what became of Othniel? Was his story ever altered? There came a day when he stood alone, his kin scattered under the weight of pride. The giant continued. "In a moment of utter despair, wisdom emerged like the dawn breaking through night's veil. It was then he wept. He wept not for his power lost, but for the bonds broken, the true strength he had forsaken. In that moment of vulnerability, as tears touched the soil of the earth, a great transformation began. He found forgiveness within himself, yet he could not escape the shadows of his past. What can we take from this?" Mara reflected gently, her voice steady yet filled with questioning. "Can we break these cycles, or are we doomed to repeat them as he did?" "Cycles bend," the giant replied with a certain gravitas. "They do not need to break, but can shift and alter course with conscious choice. Look closely at the threads in your stories. Acknowledge what has been. This is your lie of truth. Then, weave your new story with intention. Remember this: shadows of giants can guide or haunt you, depending on how you choose to harness their energy." As the night deepened, each member pondered the lessons of Othniel and the consequence of unchecked might intertwined with fear. They felt the weight of this narrative within their own lives, a flicker of understanding that their paths, too, could spiral toward darkness if not navigated with wisdom and humility. The wind carried an unfamiliar chill, sending ripples through the forest surrounding them as they stood on the brink of revelation. With weary hearts yet ignited spirits, they knew a choice bloomed before them. "Will we choose the path of strength bound by integrity?" Josiah mused aloud. "Or will we let fear guide us to the same ruin befalling giants of old? What legacy do we wish to forge, even as shadows linger close and the whispers of our ancestors echo around us?" The lingering questions seemed to dance in the air, the crackling fire casting glowing shadows that swirled eerily around them. As they pondered the cautionary tale of Othniel, a silence settled, heavy with the weight of contemplation. It was then that Eli broke the stillness, an urgency pulsing under his skin. "And what of the other giants?" he asked, his voice low but insistent. "If one such as Othniel fell from grace, what of the others who walked the earth and once inspired awe?" The giant's gaze shifted, reflecting more than the flickering flames. It seemed to peer through the veil of time, summoning forth its thoughts with great deliberation. There were many, each with his own Talia tapestry woven with folly and wisdom alike. It paused, letting the gravity of its words settle like dust in the wind. However, seldom do their stories unfold without the terror of arrogance or the sting of regret. "Tell us of Goliath," Mara urged, her curiosity igniting anew. "The Titan who faced David. What led him to such a fate?" A low rumble of sadness emanated from the giant as it recalled. Goliath's heart was a fortress of pride, a facade built to instill fear in his enemies. Clad in armor that gleamed like the sun, he stood and roared defiance before armies, his spirit bolstered by the echo of his past victories. Yet within him lay an unhealed wound, a longing for recognition that clouded his sight. As the story unfolded, images of a great battlefield ignited in the minds of the listeners. In his single-minded quest for supremacy, Goliath missed the whispers of the fragile, those who bore the weight of humility and faith. It was not brute strength nor towering stature that brought about his downfall, but rather an unsuspected shepherd armed with nothing but resolve and a simple slingshot. David's humble heart struck against the arrogance of Goliath, and the very earth quaked with the lesson of hubris. The group exchanged glances, the night air thick with understanding. "So, in both stories," Eli murmured, "the giant's defeat was intertwined with pridea, blindness to the truth that power must tread alongside humility?" "Yes," the giant responded, its voice resonating through their chests like a heartbeat in the night. "Their stark fates echo a singular truth. Only by embracing vulnerability can one rise truly strong." Goliath wielded might, but without wisdom, it was an empty shell. When faced with the strength of the small and underestimated, the veil of invincibility shattered. Josiah's brows knit together as he considered the implications for their own lives. But even in such overwhelming arrogance, could there not be potential for redemption? Was there no chance for Goliath to change before the fateful battle? The giant's silence reminded them of the deeper layers hidden within each soul's journey. The potential for redemption lies in recognizing one's shadows. For many giants, their stories have been sculpted by the choices they have made, yet the flame of change ignites in acknowledging one's vulnerability. Goliath, like many others, was blinded by his own belief in invincibility. Only when one yields to the truth of their existence can seeds of humility take root. As the night wore on, stories of giants past unraveled like gnarled branches reaching for the sky, illuminating the resilient interplay between strength and frailty, pride and redemption. Each tale drew them deeper into a web of reflection about their own lives, their struggles, and the silent giants they fought within. "What about us then?" Mara whispered, her voice faint yet resonant in the stillness. "Will we, too, build our fortresses, refusing to see the vulnerabilities that shape our paths? Or can we learn to embrace humility alongside our strength and find grace even in our imperfections? How do we ensure that we do not become the giants we fear?" The dawn bloomed slowly, colors spilling across the horizon, whispering promises of a new beginning. As the warmth crept into the clearing, it mingled with the lingering night's contemplations, urging the group to carry their reflections into the light of day. Yet, unanswered questions still hung like dewdropped leaves, glistening with uncertainty. Mara, drawn by an unyielding desire to delve deeper, turned to the giant once again. What of the giants who seemed utterly indifferent to their fate? The ones whose strength rendered them blind, not just to their own vulnerabilities but to the cries of the world surrounding them. The giant's ancient eyes shimmered with a knowing sorrow. There were many like that, who mistook indifference for wisdom. Their names vanished into the annals of forgotten lore, their strength wielded without purpose, their hearts encased in stone. They may have towered over others, but their oblivion was a prison far grander than any chains. Josiah interjected, curiosity marinating with caution. "Is indifference not a form of pride?" A belief that one is impervious to the struggles of others? How could they not see the pain in the eyes of those they overshadowed? Yes, the giant replied, its voice softening, yet it echoed the weight of realization. Indifference, like arrogance, crafts a distance between self and others. In their quest for supremacy, many giants isolated themselves, fortifying their hearts against vulnerability. They believed they had transcended the human experience, yet their isolation became their greatest weakness. What became of them? Eli asked, a deepening urgency lacing his voice. Did their disregard for others render them powerless? The giant hesitated, its brow furrowing in contemplation. Their stories remain shadowed in obscurity, yet the echoes of their choices reverberate through time. A giant without connection dwindles in spirit, and in time, their great stature crumbles, not beneath the strength of another, but under the sheer weight of their own solitude. They become unknowable, a paragraph left unread in the chapters of existence. Mara pondered this, her heart heavy with the implications. But in their fall, might there be a lesson aplenty, something we can learn from their silence? Must we beware not only of the giants who roar, but also of those who ignore? Indeed, the giant advised, the gravity within its tone emboldening. Every encounter, each life we crosses, an opportunity to recognize our interconnectedness. So many lessons are whispered in those quiet moments. The journey of understanding is never ceasing. Even a giant is but a reflection of the world around them. That as they sat in the morning light, basking in revelations yet unreconciled, Eli looked intently at the group, drawing forth a question that nudged at their minds. How do we know if we are truly aware, or simply blinded by our own facades? In seeking strength, are we tender enough to hear the cries of the world, or have we shrouded ourselves in the armor of indifference? Their hearts thrummed in response, the morning's fragile beauty marred by the weight of introspection. What might lie ahead for them in their pursuit of truth, strength, and connection? The stories of the giants still lingered, rich with lessons unlearned and paths yet to be explored. As dawn broke fully, casting vibrant rays through the tree branches, the giant's presence felt less like a harbinger of fear and more like a guiding star illuminating the path forward. The air hummed with potential, the freshness of a new day awakening myriad possibilities. Each member of the gathered group realized that the threads of their stories interwoven with those of the giants could yield a collective tapestry of renewal. Tell us how we might strive to live in unity, mindful of not repeating the mistakes of those who came before us, Josiah implored. What steps can we take to embrace our vulnerabilities without letting them anchor us in the past? The giant nodded, its expression softening with understanding. In your quest for strength, remember, vulnerability is not a weakness, but a bridge. It allows connections to form not only among yourselves, but with the very essence of existence. Real power arises in empathy and shared experience. It paused, letting the gravity of the moment settle around them. To avoid becoming the giants cloaked in indifference, you must seek to listen deeply, truly listen to the stories of others, especially those overshadowed by societal norms. Nurturing this listening heart is where transformation begins. Mara blinked back tears. She felt the words resonate in her core. But how do we cultivate compassion in a world often driven by ambition? How do we foster connection amidst competition? The giant's gaze was steadfast, a reassuring shadow against the dawn light. You begin with intention. Cultivate an awareness of your thoughts and actions, choosing to respond to each interaction as an opportunity to uplift rather than dominate. Speak your truths with kindness and embrace the vulnerabilities of others. Create spaces where stories can blossom and hearts may be laid bare. For in those moments of authenticity lies the healing of generations. The wisdom poured forth. It filled the air like a soft glow, lighting the deep recesses of their hearts. Josiah felt courage swell within him, a powerful push against the shroud of complacency, urging him to act on what had been revealed. That I vow to weave our stories into one, he asserted, a conviction blazing in his voice. I will carry the lessons of the giants within me, aware that our strength is bound in our compassion. Let each gathering we host be a reminder that we have the key to open the doors of understanding, and with that, to shatter our fears. Eli, feeling bolstered by Josiah's revelation, added with enthusiasm, I will seek out those unheard voices and share their stories as my own, for we are all intertwined in this human experience. Asher stepped forward, his brow relaxed, the weight of uncertainty melting away. Together, we break the cycle of fear and arrogance, reclaiming our narratives and ensuring that no giant's legacy remains wrapped in ignorance. We choose the paths of humility and listening, crafting our destinies with the ink of compassion. Mara felt a surge of energy ignite the circle. No more will we be shadows to giants of old. Together we will forge a family of stories, embracing the vulnerabilities that bring us together as one. Let every tale shared form a new foundation built on trust and renewal. The giant observed, pride shimmering in its gaze. Then, as your journey unfolds, remember, the giants within are as potent as those outside. Consciously confront your fears, understanding that in kindness lies true strength. As you share your narratives, weave the threads of healing and unity, remaking your world, not in the shadow of giants, but alongside them. The sun now hovered high, bright and bold, infusing the clearing with warmth and possibility. Each member had embraced a vital truth, the revelation lifting their spirits beyond mere survival. They had chosen compassion over indifference, vulnerability over pride, a heartfelt transformation set to ripple through the tapestry of their lives. Let us return to our people, Josiah declared, voice resonant with purpose. Let us share our stories, the stories of giants, but more so, let us weave tales of resilience and understanding. We carry not just caution, but wisdom. The legacy of the giants no longer binds us to fear. Instead, it fuels our commitment to create. As they turned to descend, the giant watched them traverse the path back home, embodying promise and purpose intertwined. Remember, young ones, it called, its voice carrying like a melody through the forest. Every step you take forward shapes not only your fate, but the fate of the ones who come after you. Nurture the empathy you ignite. Share it generously, for it is the seed from which the forest of strength and understanding will flourish. Each step echoing against the soil no longer felt daunting, for fear was diminished by a burgeoning light paved with intention. They were not merely travelers through the land of giants. They were storytellers at the helm of their narrative, casting ripples that would resonate through generations. And as the horizon began to glow with the promise of a new dawn, they carried forth a revelation that would echo beyond their immediate world, boundless and profound. The true giants were never just those rooted in legend, but the fears they carried within themselves, the vulnerability beckoning them towards connection, toward love, toward becoming who they were always meant to be.